Hey Imperium, welcome to the Abom Wing, also called the Construct Quarter. Um, this one is a huge pain in the ass. The trash is awful and it sucks. But if we can get through the trash and one boss, then we have three bosses right back to back to each other, and so it's actually quite fun. So this is what that looks like. The first pull in here are patchwork golems. This pull sucks. So look at where the patchwork golems are right now. We're going to make several pulls into these general positions, okay? In this nook, to the left of the door, to the right of the door, and in this nook. These patchwork golems have a massive war stomp that does huge damage. They have a massive cleave, which does huge damage. We can't tank two of them close to each other. Melee, don't even try to go in on two of them. So you want to melee, you want to wait all the way back here with the range until all these guys are in perfect position, and then you want to go in. They're just a huge pain in the ass. Tanks probably need to FAPS or use a have your PvP trinket equipped on the pole. So it's just, unfortunately, we cannot. If one of these things makes it to the raid, it probably will wipe us. So we kill them in their positions, and it's over. The next pulls that we have are not. It's not a Bile Retcher pull, but that is a pat. The next one is like a golem, two golems, and a Bile Retcher. So on this one, the Bile Retchers need to die first. What they do is they basically have a huge cone that does a tremendous, well, it does a decent amount of damage, but then it puts a dot on you that is a 5 or 6k nature dot. So that's dispellable, which is good because it needs to be dispelled right away. So we make this pull, everyone's out of line of sight, ranged, and everyone are still back here. The golems get pulled off to the side. The Bile Retcher gets faced up against a wall and tanked, and everyone does their thing. If it doesn't face somebody, it can't do the thing. If it faces the raid because you've pulled aggro, and it breathes, there's a good chance the raid wipes because we can't dispel things fast enough because it's 6k damage every 3 seconds. So again, we're making those pulls back. Make that pull back. We get the pat. We do another 4 patchwork golem pull. Grobulus, who's the second boss in here, will come to this balcony and spawn these sewage slimes. We need to kill them when they come, but we're pulling most of these back into this room. And then there will be a couple of pats that we got to fight in here, in which case we're going to have to kill the sewage slimes. So we'll just, whatever. We'll just kill these. But it's pretty quick. The trash isn't... It needs to be respected, but if you know what's going on, it's not hard. Sludge Belchers are stupid. They do a thing in which if you're standing in front of them and they do a cone attack, then it will spawn an ad. So ideally, we only ever have one ad spawn because it's only going to hit the tank. So the embalming slimes, this is an annoying pull. We're going to pull this back into this room, but we need to be quick about it. So we kill the Sludge Belcher. We make sure that there aren't going to be any sewage slimes that spawn. And then these are not really tankable. They just need to be AoE down. There needs to be a frost trap over here. Sort of the works, right? So we kill them. They all pull together. That's the other thing. So we kill them back in that other room. And that is most of all the trash in here except for 2 other kinds of pulls. So what we do is we'll walk back to here and we'll have a new kind of tank spot. We'll pull all of the pats that we can. There's another pat actually that comes through there in 40 man. We'll pull all the pats that we can so that we don't get surprised. And then here he is. And then we get to the real fun pulls, which are these living monstrosity pulls. These guys do a nasty-ass chain lightning, and then they also put down a totem, which does lightning damage. It does tremendous amounts of damage. So here's what's going to happen on these pulls. we're going to pull ranged, are going to basically pull this living monstrosity kind of back, right? Ranged are all going to be over here with the healers. The tanks are all running up. They're coming here, ideally being healed. A tank picks up the living monstrosity here. The remainder of the tanks run up to tank the mad scientists, and that goes with the melee as well. The melee cannot stand in melee range with the living monstrosity. If he does the totem, it's unhealable. So the melee all run over here. You're going to have specific assignments for tanking and for interrupts. These mad scientists can heal the living monstrosity for a third of its life. It is a big deal if a heal gets through. So all the tanks and the rogues, and there'll be a fifth tank on these bulls, are going to have interrupt rotations. You need to be on it. These guys, these little surgical assistants, do kind of need to be tanked, but sort of, right? Basically, you want to use your spare interrupts on the surgical. Oh, fuck off. On these surgical assistants, because they don't have a threat table exactly, but they have a mind flay that could be interrupted that does do a lot of damage. So that needs to be healers. So it just adds on to like a little spiky damage to what is a lot of AoE damage. So ranged also want to spread out for the chain lightning. So we make this pull. They're tanked where they are. The living monstrosity has been pulled back. And we're good. So this is a 4 patchwork golem pull. We're going to pull in the same kind of grid as we did before, like one here, one over here, and then mirrored on the other side. But we do that. Not a big deal. You get a Bile Retcher Pat. I think there's another Sludge Belcher. Oh, yeah, there he is. Another 2. We wait till he goes over here. We pull. We do the same thing with this next pull where the living monstrosity runs towards the raid. Melee all run up to these other guys. And then the tank picks up the monstrosity before he gets to the raid. Another Sludge Belcher. Again, don't stand in front of him. Sludge Belcher. If he belches things onto you, it creates an ooze. The Retcher will just fucking kill you if he throws up on you because you won't be able to heal the dot. And that brings us to fucking Patchwork, who has a stupidly long patrol path. So, Patchwork, we're going to tank. I don't even need Patchwork for this. It's not really a consequential part of this fight. Patchwork is going to get tanked, like right here. We have 1 tank. We have 3 off tanks. He's going to Hateful Strike the off tanks. Whoever is number 2 through 4 on threat is going to get Hateful Struck. That will do most of their life in damage in full mitigation gear. They're going to be assigned healers to healing each off tank and the main tank. The main tank will take the least amount of damage unless there's a tank switch, which we're really going to try to avoid. Melee, you need to be sure that you're not 1 through 4 on threat. It's just important. If for some reason you are, there are things that you can do to make sure that you don't get popped, which is you stop a DPS, you step in this slime, and then your max health goes down to 10%. Here's the problem with that. That means that somebody else is going to get hit, right? If those off tanks aren't healed up, someone else is going to get hit. So ideally, just don't be in the top 4 in threat. You're going to start in the ranged group and not go in for a while until healing on everybody is secure. And then you're going to go in. Healers, this is a tough fight. You guys absolutely make or break this fight. You need to be able to bomb serious heals on the off tanks a lot, consistently, for quite a while. He's got a lot of hit points. And at 5%, he frenzies. Tanks have to blow all their cooldowns or else you die. So this is a healer make or break fight. Since we have shamans, which is actually a serious boon on this fight, provided we don't have melee standing, getting in the slime to absorb heals, and absorbing heals, we can have all of the melee switch their primary focus targets and do a lot of chain healing, and it will only be the tanks that get hit, which is a good way to do it, but we're not going to necessarily rely on that fact, so melee really just stay out of the top 4 in threat. That is the biggest thing. So the off tanks get some threat from the Hateful Strike. It gives us about 2k threat every time we get hit with a Hateful Strike. So that's how the off tanks are able to stay in 2 through 4 positions. However, the DPS can absolutely out threat us. So because again, we are in full mitigation gear, like full on 440 defense, as much armor as we can get. So it's it's important that you respect the mechanics. And that goes for the casters too, of course. If you guys pull threat, it's over. Because while he is tauntable, you really don't want to have to resort to that. Because at that point, you're going to lose DPS, and it's kind of a race anyway. So this is a gauntlet. These slimes have kind of a huge explodey range. They will one-shot you if they hit you, so that's fun. I'll be proud of us the week that nobody dies on that. So these are called Stitch Giants in 25-man. They're called Stitch Spewers, I think, in 40-man. So here's what these guys do. It's a huge pain in the ass. It's an AoE volley, shadow or poison damage volley, and that is line of sightable, incidentally, and a knockup that wipes threat completely and knocks you high enough to kill you. Real fun fucking combo. Okay, so here's what you do. There are a few ways to do this, but the most tried and true method for this is the following. We assign 2 tanks to the stitched spewers. One tank tanks the first one, the kill target, right here. So you'll notice there's a little lip right here, right above you. You stand right here. The tank can't make it through. Like if you try to jump, tank can't really make it all the way through. And if they do go, they can't really go all that high. So they can taunt. So not a big deal. DPS typically just stand in front of them. Even if it parries them, they do hit hard, so it's not ideal, but just kind of stack up. The second one gets tanked right here because there's an arch. So you'll have a more considerable jump on this one, but it is still very solo tankable because you can still hit them on your way up for taunt, and then you'll land and you don't take that much damage. Okay, there's another 2 pull here, which we will do opposite that one. So we pull one of them here and one of them here. Okay. And then there's a 3 pull, which is a real pain in the ass, by the way. This pull wipes people. You make sure Grobulus isn't coming. I'm going to pull it anyway, but I'll just pull it with the boss. On this one, you tank it in that first spot. Or in this first archway. You tank the other one in an archway, and you tank the third one over in this corner. So there just needs to be healers there. But we single target them down. We don't AoE them down. This brings us to Grobulus. Grobulus is a known pain in the ass. He has a bunch of abilities. Well, I mean, I guess he doesn't have that many, but they're impactful. So he has a basically 180-degree cone in front of him, which is it's important to note because you cannot ever be facing his front. If you ever see Grobulus in this view, or even in like this view, you are in the wrong fucking position unless you are the main tank. So the biggest stuff for Grobulus is don't stand in front of him. He will. So when you stand in front of him, he spawns a little poison guy that has quite a lot of health. He's always going to spawn one because of the main tank, and it needs to be killed. It needs to be killed. So it's not like the most dangerous mechanic, but it is something that needs to be dealt with and needs to be killed by everybody. So that's the first thing. The second thing is he does a poop cloud right under his feet. He's like Venoxus in ZG. He does a poop cloud under his feet. So the way to tank him is we're going to kite him on the outside of the room, just like this. You just kind of, oh, yep, oh, okay, cool. Oh, dropped another poop cloud. Oh, cool. So those poop clouds grow in size over time. So we need to utilize the entire room. So that sounds pretty easy, except this. He also does something called mutating injection. It is a disease, I believe, but I'm not actually certain, but I'm fairly certain it's a disease. That disease puts a dot on somebody in the raid, including the ranged or healers, okay? So at the end of that duration, or if it gets dispelled, it will spawn a poop cloud, just like the ones he drops under him that grow slowly over time. So the idea is we can never have one of those drop either in the middle of the room or where we're going to be going, because they last a long time. So every single time, so, you know, let's say the Stitch Spewer, is just where he dropped a poop cloud. I need to be sure that if I get mutating injection and I'm the melee or I'm in the range group, I need to try to put myself in front between the boss and where the poop cloud is. That's where we want to drop them, between the boss and the poop cloud. You can drop them on the back side of the poop cloud, and it's not the end of the world. Just be sure you're dropping them closer to the wall. The ideal place is to drop them between the boss and the poop cloud. So if I'm the boss, we're dropping it. You want to stand basically right up against the edge of the growing poop cloud, moving while it grows. And then when you get dispelled, when you stop moving, there will be a person assigned to watch you. And when you've stopped moving and you're standing over there, you're going to get dispelled, and then you get to run back to your position. So in that way, that growing poop cloud has basically added no additional area to the room that we need to worry about. That is how you manage this fight. Other than that, it's literally just backing up slowly while we tank him. The caster position is going to be changing. You can't just stand in the center of the room because his cone is so huge, okay? So if I'm tanking him here, I'm going to try to face him away from the raid as much as possible, but the further out I move him, I'm going to have to correct him at some point and point him towards the raid. It's bad juju. So caster group and range group, you're not going to be standing just dead in the middle. What you're going to be doing is you're making your own smaller circle. Let's say he's kind of over here by the ramp. You're going to be standing here. If he's over in this corner, that position is no longer good, because when I turn him back, you're going to be within the 180 cone. So what you're actually going to be doing is you will have moved over here. And when he's back in that corner, you will have moved over here. So it doesn't require a ton of movement. You're moving in a small little kind of square diamond pattern. But it does require movement. You cannot be stationary for this whole fight. So other than that, you just kill them. It's really simple. Oh shit! I didn't hit stop attack in time. Whatever. It's easy. But be respectful of the mechanics, because as soon as you aren't, we're going to run out of space, or we're going to get too many slimes because of a breath. And then we're hosed. So, Grobulus dies. What do we all do? We all take a small nature resistance potion right away. And then we run up here. We make sure everybody's buffed and has got everything ready to go. Everyone has a bandage ready to go. That's the other important part, by the way, on Lotheb, is everyone needs to have 300 first aid, even the healers. So get that popping. So then we are at this portion of this is a little gauntlet thing. There are no mobs. It's just poison damage. It's not enough to kill you, but the encounter Gluth, which is a dogfight, starts as soon as I jump down. So the idea is we run through here in a very tight group. We all have a little bit of nature prop potion going, so we don't take much damage here. And we're all going to jump down, and when we jump down, the fight starts. The healer... Oh, God damn it. The healers are not going to heal the raid right when they jump down. They're only going to heal the tank. Because this is the second and only the second untauntable boss in here. So he is a huge pain in the ass. He has a frenzy. So I'll explain what's going on slowly here. But he has a frenzy that needs to be trank shotted. He has a stacking mortal strike debuff. And then finally, he also has an AoE fear, by the way, which can be tremored. So what you're seeing is these zombie chows spawn out of these 3 grates. These need to be picked up by the mages as they spawn, because every one of these that's getting to him, you see him running over to him and grabbing him. He's healing for like 5 or 10% of his life. These guys have too many hit points to kill, and they have a stacking debuff on them that makes you take increased melee damage for every strike. You get hit with like 4 of them, and you're taking 1,000 damage from these little guys, and they're like fucking 50 of them. So they're not tankable. They're not killable. They are kiteable. So mages and sort of hunters, you're going to be responsible for doing this. Hunters, you're also going to be responsible for tranking. This is a big boy hunter fight. Guys, gotta bring big boy pants. Just to sound properly condescending, here's an example of the physical damage taken is increased, but it's a lot higher than that. The mages are going to have to do a lot of kiting. We have to make sure that these zombie chows never get to the healers, because that's the big thing, is that healers, you want to really try to avoid healing until the zombie chows are picked up, which is hard. So tanks, there's also some responsibility on us to stay alive. Again, the boss is untauntable. How do you deal with the stacking mortal strike debuff? Well, shittily enough, the main tank has to stop threading, and a second tank needs to pick it up, which means that everyone needs to stay below a second tank. It's just the way it is. That's to prevent you from doing the fight too fast, quite frankly, because he does not have a lot of hit points. So what happens is we fight him for a while, and then he casts something called Decimate. Okay? Decimate reduces everybody, including the zombie chow's health, to 5%. So right before Decimate, everyone who's kiting kind of gets up against a back wall and centered as best that they can. Decimate is cast, and all the zombie chows drop their threat and focus and run towards Gluth, right? So they need to be slowed with blizzards, cone of cold, frost novas, frost traps, while everyone, including melee are going to basically come from the boss and kill the closest zombies in a line to him, and all the casters are going to get everybody else. But it's max AoE, max damage, fuck them up. Healers need to make sure that whoever is tanking Gluth is every single possible consideration is given to them during the Decimate, because the tank will be at 5%. Tanks, this is probably the only time you might ever use a healing potion. A healing potion, last stand, is basically how to survive this. But that being said, we get through one of these phases, there's a good chance the boss is dead, because he doesn't have that many hit points. I think it's probably 700,000 or 800,000. So, Gluth dead. He hasn't healed. We managed the ads well. Okay, this guy does not exist in Classic Naxx, so do not pay attention. Okay, that brings us to Thaddeus, the final boss of this quarter. First, we fight two mini-bosses, and then I'll kind of generally explain Thaddeus. Fugan over here, first of all, they need to be killed within a certain amount of time. Fugan over here has an AoE mana drain. So all the melee are going to come to this side. We're going to tank him kind of off to one side, and all the healers are going to run up, and they're going to be shaman. All the shaman are going to run up and heal from over here, or from back here. And he has a slight knockback, so tanks never put your back, never have your back facing off the ledge. Stalag over there, all he does is hit like a truck, so he'll increase his attack speed, but passively, every single one of his abilities is a crush. So when he increases attack speed, the tanks get absolutely whomped, like in a really brutal way. Wait, how am I going to do this solo? So the other thing here is they got to die at the same time. So, and if they get too far away from their thing, they reset. So, figure this out somehow. Where's my little run fast thing? Okay. So we kill both of these, and then you have to run and jump off. If you try to walk off, you will die. Well, you won't die, but you'll fall into that shit, and that's the same shit that reduces your max health. So you can actually just run through it and get back, but whatever. So we kill them at the same time, and then we're going to run down and group up directly on the platform where Thaddeus, the boss, is facing. So let's kill these guys and see if we can actually do it. How's about? Oh, don't mind me. So we're going to kill this idiot, and then we're going to Divine Steed and... Oh, okay, got him, cool. Okay, so what did I say? We're jumping off. So it takes a while for him to come active, but we do need to be quick about it. Okay. So there, that's about as fast. So we will have grouped up here. So our tanking position is going to be here, but to his sides, okay? So he's casting Polarity Shift. I'm negative. Shit, I'm running to the left. Okay, it's always negative to the left. Always negative to the left. We get a stacking buff where we do additional damage and healing. Or maybe just damage, I don't know. We get a buff for every person of the same charge around us. However, we damage everybody that's of the opposite charge. So if we had 20 negatives over here, okay, I just shifted. I'm still negative. I don't move. If we had 20 negatives over here, and let's say a positive person didn't switch, all of us would collectively zap him, and that person would die instantly. But we would also all take considerable damage ourselves just from one person. So a few people don't switch, you have a wiped raid. He has a ton of hit points and an enrage. So we need everybody to stay alive and pay attention. We're going to be just absolutely yelling at people to pay attention to their debuffs. I'm still negative. Pretty cool. So positive people stand on the other side. Just to pretend like I have gotten a positive charge. Let's say he does a polarity shift. I've gotten a positive charge. Oh, shit. I run straight through the boss. Straight through the boss. Do not go to the sides. Just run straight through the boss and get in your position. The raid is just gathered behind wherever the tank is here. And you DPS. He doesn't do a ton of damage. He hits hard enough, but he doesn't do a ton of damage. The tank will be doing lots of threat. Everyone will be doing tons of damage. Big thing here is really try not to pull threat. He is tauntable, but you really don't want him to move. Him moving is dangerous. because you have to organize a lot of people moving. Okay, so, oh shit, you suck. We killed you. What next? See, look at how many hit points he has. Jesus Christ. Okay, so in this one, as soon as he dies, it removes the debuff. In Classic Nax, that is not the case. You need to stay on your side. However, here's the other thing. Because of spell batching, whatever you want to call it, people's debuffs will not leave at exactly the same time. So all the positives need to stay over here and spread out as best they are able and try to shield people or whatever, because when the debuffs start coming off, some people will have the debuff and others won't. And it doesn't just zap people of the opposite charge. It turns out it zaps people that don't have the same charge, which includes people that don't have the debuff. So you need to have everyone spread out on this side and all the negatives spread out on this side. You can even run down here to get additional room. You will die. You will die if you don't pay attention to this. If you go to try to loot the boss, you'll die. This is important. If we want to make it through Nax one day with world buffs, that means you're paying attention to this. It will, at worst last 30 seconds. It is 30 seconds we're going to take to make sure people stay alive, and then the wing is over.
And that concludes the Abomination Wing. Stay tuned for our final wing.